The biggest difference in the last two games for the Orlando Magic? The Orlando Magic need Jalen Suggs. And I cannot wait for him to get into shape today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 3rd, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, why the Magic need Jalen Suggs and what they have not been getting from him, one of the big downturns of the season, and why the Magic need him to get into rhythm quickly. Plus, we'll talk about the defense rounding into form and winning the games you should, and what the little spat has to say about that. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers who listen 5 days a week, who listen when we do our weekend episodes like we will be doing this weekend, who make us part of your regular podcast rotation, who make us your first listen every day. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Magic community such a great and growing community. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Go back to, what was it? Mid-January? Somewhere in there, like January, when Jalen Suggs came back from the MCL contusion. And you will probably find in our archives, which may still be relevant, may still not be, maybe good background if you're looking for a second listen today. You'll find an episode where I said Jalen Suggs can fix everything. That Jalen Suggs was sort of the exact player the Magic needed in the meantime while Paolo Banchero was figuring himself out, while we waited for Franz Wagner's return. Jalen Suggs was the kind of player who helped make all the pieces fit. He would help a lagging defense find their energy, find their groove again. He would be an excellent spot-up shooter, spreading the floor for an Orlando Magic team that was still so desperate for shooting. He was someone that could just lock the players into place. And I've joked about this before, but if you've ever seen this Simpsons episode, I think this perfectly describes the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic have three stooges syndrome. They are a really good team when all the pieces are in place, but you knock out one piece and things start to get a little rickety. Monty Burns may not be long for this world. Jalen Suggs, it's a lot to put on Jalen Suggs. And I don't ever want to put everything on one player. I say this about Paolo a lot. Like, you have a lot of responsibility the higher up on the scouting report you are, the more the team needs from you. And with the Magic still down Franz Wagner, with Anthony Black probable to play on Tuesday, but in and out, but missing a game and dealing with some stuff as well, the Magic are desperate. The Magic are desperate for someone to step into the fold. They're desperate for their best players to be their best players. And the fact of the matter is, these last two games for Jalen Suggs have not been particularly good. He had the 3 turnovers in the 20-0 run, didn't play in the fourth quarter in his return game on Thursday. And while you should give him a little bit of grace, it was really bad. And he fell back into a lot of bad habits and bad trends that we don't like to see from him. On Sunday against the Pistons, he went 4 for 13 from 3, 4 for 17 overall. And while those 4 threes were super valuable and he got some good looks that he just missed on Sunday, that's a lot of threes and that's a lot of misses. On top of that, the Magic, with the current defensive strategy they're using, they're putting Paolo Banchero on the other team's best players so they can switch screens pretty freely with Wendell Carter. That left Jalen Suggs on Tobias Harris, and that's just not a matchup Jalen Suggs is going to win very often, even though he got some shots in, but Harris is going to shoot over him and not be challenged very much by that. This is the conundrum then with Jalen Suggs. Because since returning from that MCL injury, Suggs has really struggled. Now again, for the entire season, if you look at the entire season, Suggs is averaging 13.6 points per game, shooting only 32.6% on 6.1 3-point attempts per game. But he is making 41.4% on 3 catch and shoot 3-pointers. He's vastly improved as a shooter. And as long as he's not shooting pull-ups, you feel pretty confident with him stepping into threes off of passes. He's also averaging a career high 5.3 assists per game, and that number has been jumping up. For the season, the Magic have a plus 5.8 net rating with Suggs on the floor. That is only behind Javon Carter, who's got a very small sample size and some big results in there. But the Magic win Jalen Suggs minutes, a 112.6 offensive rating, which is not good, and a 106.8 defensive rating, which is very good. But since returning from his MCL injury in January, it has been rough for Jalen Suggs. He's averaging just 11.1 points per game, shooting 31.8% from 3 on 6.5 attempts per game. He's only taking 1.1 catch and shoot a game, still shooting in the low 40s. So he's still making them, but not getting enough of them. And sure, 6.3 assists per game is a positive contribution. But since returning from his injury, the Magic are minus 1.2 points per 100 possessions with Suggs on the floor. A 106.9 offensive rating and a 108.1 defensive rating. Now, 106.9 offensive rating is god-awful. And a 108.1 defensive rating is very good, but nearly 2 points per 100 possessions worse than Suggs' full season. And we'll get to the defense here in a minute because the defense has taken some strides, and I don't want to hit on the defense, but we've continually run into this problem where the Magic's offense just isn't good enough to make their defense matter. It's a repeat of last year in a lot of ways. Suggs is clearly getting himself back kind of into playing shape, into game shape after missing the 3 games with the back strain. And backs are tricky, so you got to be careful. And the goal, of course, is for Suggs to finish the rest of the season. He will still not play enough games and will still have the injury questions when we get to the offseason, but the Magic cannot win. The Magic cannot do anything in the playoffs without Franz Wagner, of course, but without Jalen Suggs and Jalen Suggs playing at his best. If they get the 2024 playoff version of Jalen Suggs, except for game 3 and 4, then the Magic are going to be in big trouble. And the Magic are going to be out very quickly. The Magic need all of their best players, and they need them all to play well. So I would again say patience is warranted. Look, Suggs missed a week. That's not a long time, but with a back injury, you're probably not doing very much. He got thrown right into the fire. Anthony Black got hurt. The Magic are still playing about 25 minutes a game in these first 2 games. They're trying to measure him and ramp him up. They're not trying to throw him into the deep end and say, go swim, you're fine. Again, this ain't 2K. Guys actually get tired. And it actually means something. Listen to that 2K. When guys get tired, they miss shots. That's okay. Make everyone sub in those games. I'll tell you how I really feel. But the Magic need Jalen Suggs. He is a difference maker for this team. He makes this team better. He gives them that emotional currency. And the Magic are going to be in trouble if Suggs keeps playing the way he's played for the last month and a half, last 6 weeks, however long it's been since he came back. They need the patience to wait him out. They need the patience for him to get back into rhythm and find his stride. And it might take a while. The same thing's going to happen when Franz comes back. It's not going to be perfect immediately. But the Magic need Jalen Suggs. And right now, one of the reasons why this team remains so inconsistent is, sure, they're getting great production from Paolo for the most part. They're getting great production from Desmond Bane for the most part. Anthony Black's been a little bit up and down. Wendell Carter has certainly been up and down. The bench is non-existent. They need Jalen Suggs. And we'll just see how long they have to wait to get him. But the good news is the Magic's defense is starting to round back into form. The numbers to watch and the numbers to be careful about coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to my friends over Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs from Indeed. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I will be reading this ad read, in the minute that you'll be listening to me talk about Indeed, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results, and more chances to make money. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. Thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network #1 sports podcast next level. Check out our Everydayer Club. You can get Locked On Magic ad-free with the Everydayer Club. Plus, members-only Discord access to chat Magic and NBA. You'll get my 3 thoughts after every quarter the rest of the season. Great, great value. I do not post that publicly. They only go up at the end of the quarters on the Discord server. Join now at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. One of the big alarm bells that we experienced throughout the course of the season was something that we did not expect. Look, the Magic's offense being in the teens, that's a win. That's sort of what we expected. Just signs that the Magic's offense had some semblance of capability among the other teams in the league. And I'll give you the number right now. The Magic are 19th in the league in offensive rating. What we did not expect was for the Magic to struggle this much on a lot of good defenses around the league now. The defense is back in the NBA. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. While there are a lot of really good defenses, we expected the Magic to have among the very best defenses in the league. Maybe taking a step back from second, like Desmond Bane is not Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. There have been a lot of injuries. Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner have been out. They're the 2 best individual defenders on the team. There are reasons why the Magic slipped, but Orlando spent a good chunk of the season in like 16th or 17th, like almost the same rate as their offense rating. And the Magic have been probably the most mid team in the league. In fact, right now, their net rating for the season is even. They should be a 500 team. They should be 29-29. If I did my math correctly, I did not. They should be 29. They should be 29. They should be 30-29 right now, or 29-30. They should be a 500 team statistically. They've had a lot of blowouts, but they should be a 500 team statistically. Instead, they're 31-28 and very much in the race for a lot of things. And their 59 games, by the way, are the fewest played in the league so far. So they got more games coming. Now, though, the Magic ranked 13th in the league in defensive rating at 113.4 points allowed per 100 possessions. They have, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, they have taken a step up defensively. They are playing a lot better defense, and the proof is really in the last 10 to 15 games. Over the last 12 games, and so that does include the 2 games against San Antonio and Oklahoma City where the team got wrecked, very bad defensive games. But over the last 12 games, Orlando is 7th in the league with a 109.5 defensive rating. The Magic, while offensively still struggling, are indeed back to their elite level of defense. Remember, I said before the All-Star break that the Magic need to go 8-4 over the next 12 games. We're 10 games into that. We'll talk about the must-wins that are coming here. Over the last 10 games, the Magic are 4th in the league with a 107.2 defensive rating and a solid but not great 113.1 offensive rating. Now, there are a lot of bad teams mixed in there. They played Brooklyn. They're going to play Washington and Dallas coming up here. There's some bad teams mixed in there, but at the same time, Orlando did just hold Detroit to 106 points. They did just post a 102 defensive rating in Sunday's game. Sunday's game was not lost because of the Magic's defense. They lost it because of turnovers. They lost it because of Detroit's shot making in the fourth quarter. Defense wasn't good enough to make up for how bad the offense was. And the offense was really bad. It was one of the worst offensive showings of the season. But the Magic's defense has largely found itself again. But there are warning signs. There are things to be concerned about. And obviously the first one is the turnover rate. Now, over the last 10 games, the Magic are 3rd in the league in turnover rate. They only turn the ball over 13.2% of the time on 13.2% of possessions. which is what makes games like the Phoenix game, like the Detroit game where the Magic turned the ball over a ton, so frustrating. Because that is not how the Magic have played this year. It's been one of the reasons why the Magic's offense is suddenly competent. I'm not going to say it's good. It's competent for the most part. The Magic do not give away possessions anymore. It's a big, big boost. And so to see the Magic struggle with turnovers and still have these games where they turn the ball over a ton and don't allow their defense to get set is frustrating at the least. Because at the end of the day, one of the reasons the Magic are struggling, and one of the reasons the Magic's defense is struggling, is because they'll give up fast break points. They'll give up opportunities, opportunities before their defense gets set. According to our friends at Synergy, the Magic are, let's see, where are they? They're 16th in the league with a 98.3 defensive rating. So that's bottom half of the league. But the Magic's defense is really good in the half court. And again, that's the lesson of the league, getting out in transition. And again, that's why the Magic adopted a lot of these. They've adopted offensively. Getting out in transition matters. So you can't give away extra possessions. The same is true for offensive rebound. The Magic for the entire season, believe it or not, are the best rebounding teams in the league. They are 6th in the league with a 70.6% defensive rebound rate. That means they grab essentially 7 out of every 10 misses. They'll give up 3 out of 10 offensive rebounds. Orlando ranks highly too, and I'll pull up the numbers here too. Orlando ranks highly too in opponent second chance points. In fact, the Magic give up the fewest second chance points in the league at 13.3 points per game. So typically the Magic right now are defending well, giving up few offensive rebounds, and giving up few second chance points. Over the last 10 games, that's been okay. 12 opponent second chance points per game. It's 5th in the league over the last 10 games. So Magic are still doing very well there. But over the last 10 games, even as the Magic's defense has soared, their rebounding has slipped a little bit. Magic are 17th in the league with a 69.3. Now, again, that's only like barely a percentage point difference from their season average. But that percentage point difference is huge, especially for a team that needs fast breaks, that needs to get the ball, get stops, get out and run. But overall, again, like the Magic are generally trending in a better direction. The Magic are generally moving in the right direction. And a big part of why is their defense is leading the way. The Magic have rediscovered much of their defensive intensity, much of their physicality, much of their ball hawking, much of their switching. Like all of it is more finely tuned. And if you watch this team on defense, even against Durant, who made a lot of tough shots, even against Cade, who made a lot of tough shots, the Magic are doing a good job frustrating star players. And like I said yesterday, got to give Paolo Banchero credit for taking on responsibility, whether it's Luka, whether it's Cade, whether it's Durant, and being the first guy on the ball against him, giving him a big body to see, switching seamlessly onto bigs with Wendell Carter. The Magic have hit on something in their defense that is working phenomenally. And the only thing that really derails it is when they turn the ball over and give away possessions. That's always the stat you have to watch. Just as it's important to watch every game the rest of the season. So the Magic missed their opportunities to steal some big wins, why these 2 games against Washington and Dallas are just as big. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women around International Women's Day and to recognize just how much they carry at work, in relationships, in families, and in all the unseen roles they step into every single day. Celebrate them with some love. Celebrate them with some self-love, with some self-care, with all that they deserve. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. Look, we all have to take time and reflect on ourselves and how we treat the people in our lives and hopefully experience this world. And sometimes we struggle with emotions. Sometimes we struggle to make sense of the world around us. Having a trusted therapist, helps you see the world through some different eyes with someone who is in your corner, someone who is cheering you on. And that's why therapy is so important. That's why therapy can help so much. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. And it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. College basketball is non-stop this month. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs, love those afternoon games, to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference tournaments, whatever fits your read. Whatever fits your boat. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Go safe, go bold, and ride with the team you've been following all season long. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. There is a lot of talk today, and I didn't want to lead the show with it because I don't think it's very much. Like, honestly, like the Paolo comments about the team not making adjustments after Sunday's game. Like, I listened back to him. I'm going to write about him after I'm finished recording here. To me, look, there are issues with the team, and I think we all know that. And I think something hasn't connected this year that needed to connect for this team to be the team that they want to be. You know, listening back to that and reading it back several times and using it in quotes several times, I took it more as the team failed to adjust rather than the coaching staff failed to adjust. Because a lot of players said the same things over and over again after the game too. The same thing they said after Thursday's game. We didn't stick to what worked. The team abandoned the game plan a little bit. Now, again, like, everybody deserves blame. The Magic had 2 games within their grasp against good teams that they, these toss-up games, these upset games, and that's what we have to call them. These upset games that the Magic are going to need to get one. They got one in Los Angeles. That was a huge win against the Lakers. But they got to make up a game and a half. And they're going to need to steal some games from some teams to get there. So, look, it's not the end of the world that you lost to Houston and Detroit. I had the Magic 3-3 through 6 games after the All-Star break. I had them beating Houston and losing to the Lakers. So flip that, and they're still where they need to be. The Magic are still on track, and if you look at the schedules up ahead, would not shock me if the Magic passed the Sixers by the time we're talking in Milwaukee on Sunday night. Like, it's going to be nip and tuck like this the rest of the way. So don't obsess with the standings. Just focus on the team in front. But certainly there's a disconnect somewhere. And, we asked several players about this adjustment quote that Paolo said. And again, some of it was Mosley's response was, oh, they just upped their intensity and we didn't respond. We were caught on our back foot. Wendell Carter said, they did change some things schematically and we didn't handle it well. Again, everyone has some blame. It's on Mose to communicate, this is what they're doing. This is what we're going to do in response. And it can't just be we're going to bang our head against the wall and try and do the same things when this thing is not working. And at the end of the day, the Magic missed a ton of shots in the fourth quarter in a close game, and it's a make or miss league. Sometimes you got to make some shots. And Detroit upped their defensive intensity. That's a great defensive team. And the Magic didn't respond. But those skin off your back. Detroit's really good. Stealing a game against Detroit would have been important, would have been good. Not the end of the world that you lose to Detroit. Not even the end of the world the way that you lost. They were competitive. Their defense was solid. They'll win that game more often than not. If they play like they did on Sunday tonight or Tuesday night against Washington, they're going to win, and they're going to win running away. And that's the most important point now moving forward. The Magic have to win the games they're supposed to. You cannot be losing. You got ground to make up. You're neck and neck with the Heat. Those two games in hand are going to run out pretty quickly. And we obviously got a huge game against Miami coming up 1 week from Saturday. Those games in hand are going to disappear very quickly. And it's going to be a neck and neck race the rest of the way. And so what you can't do is drop games to the Wizards. The Wizards are, near the bottom of the league, 16-45, I think now after the game tonight. Let me update my standings as I think I opened it. Yeah, 16-44 now. 4-30 against teams with records above 500. That's not a team you lose to. The Dallas Mavericks are a little bit better at 29. They're 9-24 against teams that are above 500. That is a team you cannot lose to, whether Cooper Flag plays or not on Thursday. We won't see Trae Young on Tuesday. The Magic have to win these games. And really, the Magic's record over the last 2 years was built on pummeling these teams. And while the Magic aren't pummeling these teams this year, they are 18-7 against teams with records below 500. Similar record to Philadelphia at 19-6. Similar record to Miami at 19-7. Certainly better than everyone else below them. Only the Bucks at 15-9 are really the same record. The Magic have to win these games. And look, blowout or not, you cannot lose these games. You cannot drop the games to the teams that are, for lack of a better way to phrase it, tanking. And so all that adjustment talk, like, look, Orlando is 13-21 against teams with records above 500. It's a point that I've been making for several years now, that one of the issues the Magic have is they don't beat good teams. Their record is built and their defense is built on pummeling the bad teams. But when they face teams that actually know what they're doing, they are wildly inconsistent. Like, yeah, they have big wins. They beat the Nuggets. They've beaten the Pistons. They beat the Pistons. They beat the Celtics. They beaten the Knicks. They beaten the Raptors. They've beaten all the teams in front of them in the standings. Let's see, they haven't beaten anyone in the West. They beat the Nuggets. They beat the Lakers. They have that capability. But they're 13-21 in those games. Among the teams in the postseason, they're tied with Miami for the fewest wins against teams above 500. The Chicago Bulls had more wins at 15-20. Chicago's taking, so I'm not worried about them anymore. Chicago doesn't beat the bad teams, and that's why they're not going to the playoffs. This is a must-win game. Orlando must beat the bad teams. And there's not a lot of them left. Like, look, they've got a game against Milwaukee. That game's not going to be easy with Giannis back. They've got a game against Chicago. They got 2 more against Washington. They got 1 more against Indiana. They still have 2 more against Dallas. They have 1 more against New Orleans. They have 1 more against Sacramento. They've got a lot of these games against bad teams. And there's no excuses. You've got to win all of them if you want to catch the Sixers. Make the other teams trip up. Take care of your business. And we're not concerned about anything else. At least not until the offseason. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And also, be sure to check out our Everydayer Club. You can get an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, plus access to the Locked On Magic Discord server and the Locked On NBA Discord server. Check it out today at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. As always, thank you for your support. We're going to go ahead and send you over to the first ever national NBA YouTube channel for those of you on video. If you're on audio, we're going to make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to chat about the Magic's game against the Washington Wizards. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. See you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.